Okay, welcome back everybody. I've got a new project that I'm excited to embark on this week. It's going to be a departure from my normal content, so I hope you guys enjoy it. It's a quality of life build that I've wanted to do for some time. And what it is a display that shows the next departure time for the subway or the buses in my neighborhood. I have wanted this for some time because depending on where you're going or what time of day it is, it can make sense to either take the bus or take the train. Normally I just look that up on my phone, but it'd be great to have that displayed next to the front door as you walk out so you can just glance at it, make a decision, and go on your way. In order to do that, I have a few simple components that I think will suffice for the whole project. The first of which is a Raspberry Pi Zero W. So it's got a radio, it's Wi-Fi enabled, and I can couple it to my home network. We're going to use this as the brains of the project. It'll drive the display, it'll run the code that we write to run our project, and it'll also reach out to a public API that updates the departure times for all the trains and subway and buses in my region. So this will be the core of the project. And for the display, I bought an e-ink display from Waveshare, which is pretty cool. It actually comes with a hat for the Raspberry Pi. It's really simple. It just matches together with the standard I/O pins on the Pi, which drives the display. And it's a big display. It's a 7.5-inch e-ink display. So there it is. And here is the Raspberry Pi for reference. So it's pretty large. These are going to be the core components of our project. We're going to drive this off of power from the outlet. So no need to worry about batteries or power management or anything like that. So that'll be the extent of the hardware. And then we're going to print a case so I can mount it on the wall and it can just live right next to the front door. So I'm excited about this project. I'm going to try to get this all done in one day. So let's get started. While we're waiting for our Pi to boot up, I think that we will model a case for our little e-ink display. And you know what? I kind of think that I'm going to save this foam. Like, I like that it's in a cushy case. So what I think we'll really do is just model a case that will go around this, something that's a little firmer, and then model a space so that we can install the Pi behind it and the power cords and whatever else we need, and maybe a couple of hangers so we can screw it to the wall. But I like this foam, and I like that the screen sits like very snugly in there, and I don't think I would be able to model it. It doesn't shake. I don't know if you can see it that well, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to model anything that's better than what it's already sitting in. Let's get started. Okay, we're off to a good start. The print is going. Please ignore my very dirty printer bed. But yeah, I'm gonna let this run for a couple hours while I do the coding in between. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is we're going to flash our little Raspberry Pi with the Raspbian operating system and install the correct drivers and write our code to drive the whole project. What should we name this? Displayman? What about Displaygury? Like Gregory. How do you spell Gregory? Gregory. Okay, that's how we're going to spell it. Gregory. Displaygury. Okie dokie. The flash is complete. I'm going to insert our SD card. And then I'm just going to start up the Pi. It's good. The little indicator light right there is blinking, which is always a good sign. I don't have any display connected to it. We're just gonna SSH in from another machine. Most of the time when I'm building projects with these, I sort of find it cumbersome to attach a monitor and a keyboard. I have a monitor just for that purpose and a keyboard over there for connecting Pis and debugging things. But if I can avoid it, I prefer to just SSH in from my regular machine. It makes it a lot easier. So we're gonna wait for that to boot up. Blinking and thinking, our little Displaygury. Okay, we are all done with the formatting and sort of adjusting of the display. It's late in the evening, but during the daytime there are a lot more trains and buses, and so the screen space is very limited. So I really tightened everything up so we can fit as many on there as possible while it's still being really legible. So I'm very happy with how the code turned out. There were a few hardware issues to debug, and they were subtle. Okay, so it has appeared on the network. I have SSH'd into the device, and we are going to run it for the first time. So I'm crossing my fingers. Come on. All right, it fetched the data. Good. And it crashed. Bad. But we have overcome them now, and it's running faithfully on its own. Okay, so it has connected to the network, and we're going to just run some tests. We're going to see if it fetches the data. Cool, it fetched the data. Now we're going to see if it... Yes. Okay, and now the one I'm actually nervous about. Let's run the whole thing. All right, so it's fetching. Fetched, it's working. Okay, it's waiting for the radio to power down, and now it's going to display the data. Yes! Yes! Oh, look at this little guy. I always knew you would do it. Oh, I'm really happy. This is great. Okay, this is project complete. This is going on the wall now. The issues we ran into were subtle. The hardware we're using is a Raspberry Pi Zero W, which is an older revision of the board. And basically there are some limitations with this hardware, specifically the power, the amount of current it's able to provide. So it just has enough power to power the radio, the Wi-Fi module, or the display. And the problem is if you try to use both of those at the same time, it draws enough current that the voltage drops just enough for it to crash. And the thing is the way we had written the script, I was fetching the data, then displaying the data. So I was fetching it using the radio, and then I was assuming that the radio would immediately power down and then it would drive the display. But the problem was the radio still draws a little bit of current, even though it's done sending data back and forth for some reason. And so that fetch of data and then update of display were happening too close together, and it was crashing. And it was crashing in the middle of using the Wi-Fi module. And so it was crashing in a really weird state. And it wasn't, when it rebooted, sometimes the Wi-Fi module was down. So it wasn't connecting back to my network. And because this is sort of a standalone device, it doesn't have its own display, other than the display we're using, but like a monitor and a keyboard. It was really hard to get the Wi-Fi module back into a working state. And the other issue with this device is it has pretty limited memory. It only has 512 megs of memory, which is enough for what we're doing. With the data that we're fetching and the display module that we're using, so we're like drawing shapes on a screen, it was using up a fair amount of memory. So we've done some creative things in the code where we're using memory swaps. And more importantly, we are making sure that the fetch of the data, so using the Wi-Fi module, and then the display are two separate actions. So we fetch the data now, we store the data on the device, we make sure the radio powers down, then we update the display. So those happen separately. So even if it crashes while it's updating the display, it should crash in a state when it comes back up. It'll just start back up on its own. And fortunately, it doesn't seem to be crashing now because we've separated those two things. So it's running now, and it has some safety mechanisms set in place. So even, like I said, if it loses power, if the whole house loses power, when it comes back up, it should come back up and just start working on its own. So I am super happy with how this has turned out. I'm really happy with the display. This is a cool project. I really like it. So yeah, so the last step now is to screw on the faceplate and hang it up on the wall. Okay, a little update on the progress. The print of the case is completed, and I'm pretty happy with how everything came out. The print quality was good. There were a couple little defects, but I think that's all right. I've got a few different colors. I used all the blue I had remaining, and I sort of had to switch to this purple pink. And then I did yellow for the front. The colors are a little garish, but I think it's going to be fun. We are using the foam packaging that the display came in to nest everything together. And if I flip this over, you can see on the back side, I sort of crudely carved out a space for the Pi to nest into. So I think this is going to function well. I'm happy with how this works. We're going to use these nuts and bolts. I'm going to countersink them down into these pre-made holes. You heat up a soldering iron and you sort of press them in. It melts the plastic a bit. It works really well. Okay, this is sort of what everything looks like nested together. And then if we run the display script again, this looks good. Look at this little guy go. Obviously there's no screws holding anything in place right now, so they're just kind of floating there. And the colors are definitely an interesting combination, but I think it's fun. All right, so really good news. We've gotten all the code written, and it's fetching from the public API every 60 seconds now and updating our display, which is really cool. The display looks really sharp. Like I said, this isn't screwed down yet, but the display looks really sharp, and it's functioning exactly as we desired. I'm not going to go through the code. I noticed that most people skip over those sections of the video. I will make the code available. There'll be a link in the description, so if you guys are interested, you can go and have a look there. But yeah, look at this. This looks really good. We've got the train, subway, and the particular bus line that I want. There goes updating. Super. This is really cool. So yeah, that's all the software done. It's running on a continuous loop now, so it'll just continuously update on the wall. I think I'm gonna add a trigger so when we leave the house, like when our phones disconnect from the Wi-Fi, it shuts off so it doesn't keep pulling the API when we're not around. But other than that, this project, technically wise, is assembled. So now the next step is, like I said, I'm going to get the nuts and bolts all centered in here, get the wires kind of sitting nicely, and then hang this up on the wall. And that'll be a wrap on Displaygery here. So, all right. Whenever I see people doing this online, they always look so measured. And I feel like whenever I do these, it's like, I have no idea if things are going to line up the way they should. I mean, I don't have no idea, but it always feels like such a guess. Okay, that one's in. That one goes. That one goes. First try. Hey, look at that little guy. Look how good that looks. Isn't that nice? There is one thing. It's sort of, when I printed, I noticed this when I printed it, it was bowed out a little bit. But you know what? That's okay, because I am super happy with my little Displaygery. What a handsome guy he is. And the colors don't look, it's a little bowed out on that side too. Actually, that's a print defect. That's okay. Look at little Displaygery. Doesn't he look handsome? Okay, it's plugged in now. It's going through its boot sequence. In hindsight, there are some things that I'd like to change on another revision. So the Pi is just kind of in there, as you saw when I assembled it. And I think some ventilation here might be nice. We'll see how hot it actually gets. Even just a port so you can see the display lights on the Raspberry Pi. Maybe access the SD card, and if you need to plug in a keyboard or whatever. It might be nice just to have access to the actual processor, but the idea that this is supposed to be standalone hopefully works. So I assume it's going through its boot up sequence, but I can't tell because I can't see the light. So we're just going to wait and see if this pops up on the network, and then we're going to tell it to get started as soon as it's on the network. Okay, it should be fetching the data now. Should be updating. Yeah. All right, that's it. I mean, this is great news. This is going on the wall. Okay. I'm really excited with how this is turning out. This was just kind of a project that's been on the back of my mind for a while. So I'm happy that it's working, and I hope you guys are enjoying it.